The Titan Vigilant Dawn moved through the cold expanse beyond Jupiter's shadow, like a continent of metal and will. 3 kilometers from prow to engine ring, layered in ablative tungsten plating and graphene thermal baffles, she was the largest moving structure humanity had ever built, and the most silent. Her engines were dark, her signature masked beneath the ion haze of the planet's magnetosphere. Inside her command decks, however, tension pulsed like a heartbeat. Captain Mara Ilian stood before the panoramic sensor wall, watching a faint, irregular distortion shimmer across deep space telemetry. The distortion wasn't noise. It was deliberate, a shape formed in the void, appearing and vanishing with non-linear rhythm. A signal that didn't match any known drive exhaust or gravitational wake. The automated analysis whispered its warning, unknown propulsion signature. Contact vector inbound, velocity, relativistic deceleration curve, origin, extrastellar. It had taken 10 years to build Vigilant Dawn, a Titan-class deterrent meant to ensure peace through overwhelming reach. But none of the strategic simulations, not one of the thousands, had included a scenario like this. Something not human, something coming straight for them. Range? Ilian asked. 14 AU in closing, replied Commander Nathan Reyes, her XO. His voice was tight but precise, shaped by years of combat under her command. Course correction indicates intelligence, not drift. They're matching our system's plane. Reaction time window? She pressed. At current Delta V, they'll cross our deep sensor perimeter in 27 hours. She exhaled slowly, her eyes narrowing. 27 hours to decide whether humanity's most powerful warship would fire first in its first encounter with an alien civilization. In the lower decks, Chief Engineer Orlin Cade hunched over the plasma coupling feeds. His crew worked in semi-darkness, light discipline per standing orders. Power was routed through deep cycle capacitors, each one the size of a freight container, storing enough energy to vaporize a small moon if released wrong. Cade's palms were slick with sweat despite the chill. We're pushing redline on coil charge, said one of his techs. If we keep the superconductor cores primed this long, we'll burn the insulation. Cade grunted. We don't shut down the coils until the captain says so. If we get caught cold with those drives off, we're dead weight. Triple check the coolant flows. He'd been an engineer on orbital stations before joining the Titan program. He'd watched politicians argue that one ship with humanity's combined defense budget was madness. But he'd also watched 3 nations burn each other's fleets to scrap before they realized the same truth. Deterrence required unity. Vigilant Dawn wasn't just a ship. It was the proof that humanity could act as one species. Now something else was coming to test that unity. Dr. Lyra Chen stared at the spectral data on her holoscreen from the science deck. Every frame of the unknown's approach was rewriting physics. The emission pattern alternated between ionized carbon and exotic particle spikes that suggested field manipulation, not warp, but something akin to controlled space-time shearing. And there was structure inside the pattern, not random noise, not static. Modulated frequencies and possibly language. Run linguistic fractal deconstruction, she ordered. Her assistant looked skeptical. You think it's communication, not drive noise? Chen didn't answer. The patterns repeated with eerie intent like the rhythm of breathing. Long, short, long, short. The more she looked, the more it resembled something biological, layered atop the mechanical. A machine with an organism's pulse, broadcast range? She asked. They're not transmitting on open bands. This is radiated off their drive signature. If they're talking, they don't care if we understand. She rubbed her temples. She was supposed to be the calm one, the civilian scientist among soldiers. But she could feel the ship's nervous system tightening around her, the entire crew oscillating between awe and fear. She glanced through the viewport slit. Jupiter hung like a god's eye, banded and burning in the distance, while the void beyond shimmered with the alien arrival. In the Diplomatic Operations Center, Commander Elias Varick reviewed the emergency protocol files. His role wasn't to fight, not directly. He was the interface between humanity's governments and the Titan fleet, the one who'd have to translate whatever came next into policy and restraint. He'd spent a lifetime negotiating ceasefires and alliances, but there was no precedent for this. He opened a secure line to Earth. The latency across that distance was nearly 50 minutes. Each sentence would be an echo. By the time they responded, the encounter could be over. This is Commander Varick aboard Vigilant Dawn. He began, voice measured. We have confirmed first contact. Recommend immediate assembly of the Interplanetary Security Council. Contact decelerating toward inner system. Probable intelligence. Requesting updated engagement doctrine. He closed the channel and leaned back, fingers pressed to his eyelids. Doctrine. There was none. The Titan was authorized to defend humanity from any existential threat, but no one had defined what that meant when the threat came from beyond. He'd read ancient myths of explorers greeted by gods or monsters. But in every myth what mattered wasn't the greeting, it was the human reaction. 20 hours later, the object entered visual resolution. On the tactical display it looked like a shard of obsidian wrapped in electric veins. Its surface changed shape as if molten beneath a crust of glass. It emitted no comms, no light, no heat, just a distortion field that swallowed radar and lidar alike. Only gravitational lensing betrayed its mass. The ship was big, nearly as large as Vigilant Dawn. The crew gathered on command. Even hardened veterans fell silent. They're matching our drift velocity, Reyes murmured. Distance 5 million kilometers. No weapon locks detected. Hold active systems dark, Alien ordered. No transmissions, no drives. Let them make the next move. Her hand rested lightly on the console, fingers brushing the engraved brass plate reading humanity's will. She remembered the construction yards in Mars orbit, the millions who'd watched the Titan's completion with pride and fear. The idea had been to prevent war, but sometimes deterrence demanded confrontation. The alien craft began to change. Its structure folded inward, reconfiguring with liquid precision. The distortion patterns condensed into a single axis like an aperture focusing. Are we looking down the barrel of something? Reyes asked. Lyra Chen's voice came through comms. Negative. It's forming a field, subspace interference. Wait. It's broadcasting. On the main screen, a geometric lattice flared into visibility. A cascade of light pulses forming recursive symbols. No sound, just light. Chen's translation algorithms ran at full capacity, parsing frequencies, intervals, and symmetry ratios. The ship was speaking in mathematics, the one language no species could misunderstand. The message was short. 2 repeating sequences. Chen stared at them, realization dawning. It's identification, she said softly. They're announcing themselves, then requesting parity. Parity? Ilian frowned. As in equal, Chen said. They see us as a peer. The bridge held its breath. Then the alien craft launched a smaller object, a perfect sphere, barely 10 meters across, glowing with contained plasma. It moved slowly toward Vigilant Dawn, stopping at 500 kilometers, stationary. No threat indicators, no weapon signatures. Varric stepped closer to the screen. That's a probe. A diplomatic envoy, perhaps. Or a bomb. Reyes countered. Ilian weighed the risk. The Titan's defensive lattice was on standby. Layers of phased shields that could deflect kinetic impacts at a fraction of light speed. But energy was finite. A wrong move could drain their reserves before they even knew what kind of fight they faced. Chen, she said, can we scan it without revealing our systems? Passive imaging only, Chen replied. If it's sensitive, active radar will look like aggression. Then we wait, Ilian decided. No sudden moves. For several minutes, nothing happened. The probe hung in the void, perfectly still. Then, as if responding to their patience, it emitted a series of light pulses that matched the earlier message. Identification. Parity. A deliberate repeat. An invitation. Varric exhaled. They're waiting for an answer. Ilian turned to him. And what's humanity's first word to the stars? He hesitated. Something that won't start a war. Ilian nodded. Then let's speak in the same language. She looked to Chen. Can we respond using light modulation through our external panels? Yes, simple binary sequencing. Do it. Return identification, then parity acknowledgement. Slow, deliberate, and clean. Chen's fingers danced across her console. The Titan's hull lights, designed for visual signaling in dock, flickered across kilometers of armor. Pulses of white against blackness, precise and mathematical. The alien probe pulsed again. Faster this time. The pattern grew more complex, layered like a handshake deepening into conversation. Chen's translation system struggled to keep up. It wasn't words, but exchanges of state, coordinates, measurements, constants. And then the pattern shifted. A sudden burst of variables, energy scales, decay rates. Recognition dawned on Chen's face, then horror. They're mapping our power core, she whispered. They're probing our reactor signature, Reyes swore. That's recon, not diplomacy. Shut it down, Ilian ordered. Full EM silence. The ship's hull went dark again, but it was too late. The probe's glow intensified, flaring with energy far beyond its size. Cade's voice came through engineering, strained and furious. Captain, our magnetic containment is spiking. That thing's emitting a resonance that's bleeding through the armor. It's tuning to our power field. Can we dampen it? Ilian demanded. I'm trying, but it's like it's learning our frequency faster than we can shift it. A tremor ran through the deck. Not from impact, but from internal stress. Systems flickered. Alarms flashed across the command display. Reactor harmonics destabilizing, Cade shouted. If it sinks, it could induce a cascade. Cut main drive power, Ilian snapped. Bleed excess into shield capacitors. The Titan dimmed, bleeding energy into inert systems. The probe pulsed one last time and then fell silent, its light extinguishing. The interference ceased. Status? She demanded. Cade's breathing crackled over comms. Stable, barely. They just froze our heart cold. The phrase echoed through the bridge. Froze the Titan. Humanity's ultimate warship, halted, powerless by a single alien machine. Reyes's face was pale. If that was just a probe, Varric murmured, then the real ship hasn't even tried yet. Ilian stood motionless, her mind racing. Every military instinct screamed to strike, to prove strength, but reason held her back. They didn't know what they were facing. One wrong move could trigger extinction. Prep auxiliary power from batteries, she ordered quietly. Maintain passive sensors only. We adapt now. Chen stared at the dark void where the probe hung. They didn't destroy us, she said. They just wanted to show us they could. That's worse, Ilian replied. Hours passed in tense stalemate. The alien vessel maintained its silent vigil, neither advancing nor retreating. Inside Vigilant Dawn, systems were gradually restored under tight control. Chen analyzed every byte of data from the encounter, seeking a pattern. Cade worked on decoupling the reactor's resonance fields, layering stochastic variability into the magnetic coils. Unpredictability as defense. Varric received a delayed reply from Earth. Do not engage. Attempt re-establishment of communication. Preserve ship integrity at all costs. The message was obsolete by the time it arrived. Reyes reviewed combat protocols with the crew. If they can manipulate our power grid, he said, we need hardline redundancy. Manual triggers, analog fallback. No wireless control that can be spoofed. Old-school warfare, muttered one officer. Exactly, Reyes said. When the future fails, trust the past. On the science deck, Chen ran simulations of the resonance pattern. It wasn't random. It resembled an adaptive feedback loop, almost a test, as if the probe had been gauging their reactions, learning how humanity managed energy, restraint, and fear. She looked at the recorded pulse intervals again. Something about the final sequence bothered her. It wasn't just scanning. It was measuring latency. The probe had timed their response speed to power fluctuations. Testing reflexes, it had studied them. By the 16th hour of standoff, Ilian convened her command staff. We can't stay frozen here, she said. If they can shut us down at will, we're already compromised. We need options. Retreat? Varric offered. Regroup near Mars orbit? They'd follow, Reyes said. And if they can disable our drives, we'll never make it. We need to find out how they're doing it, Cade grunted through the comms. Whatever field they used, it piggybacked on our magnetic harmonics. But it needed sustained resonance to lock us down. If we scatter the frequency every millisecond, we might stay slippery. Then do it, Ilian said. Continuous flux randomization, full time. It'll strain the coils. Shortens lifespan by 50%. Then we'll die 50% faster if we don't. A grim smile flickered on Cade's face. Copy that, Varric leaned forward. If we can't communicate safely, maybe we send a message the old-fashioned way. Optical flare, encoded pattern, but purely physical. No EM resonance. Ilian considered it. We risk being ignored. Or understood, Varric said. They initiated contact in light. Let's end the silence in the same tongue. She nodded. Chen, prepare a message. One they can't mistake, and what do we say? Ilian's eyes were hard. We tell them we're still standing. The Titan's hull lights came alive once more, sending a new cascade into the void. Deliberate, unflinching, human. The message repeated 3 times. Then silence. For several heartbeats, nothing happened. Then a reply. The alien vessel brightened along its edges, forming symbols so intricate they defied geometry. Chen's translation matrices screamed with overload, then settled on a single approximation. She whispered the output. Prepare. The word hung in the air like a verdict. The alien ship's structure shifted again, opening along its equator. Inside was not machinery, but something like a star contained within glass. Energy surged outward, folding space around it. Reyes's voice was low. Captain, they're powering something big. Ilian stared at the growing light. Her pulse was steady. Battle stations. All decks. This time we learn what it takes to fight a god. And in the void beyond Jupiter, humanity's first warship faced its first alien adversary, as the stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. The alien light grew until it painted Jupiter's clouds in ghostly silver. Vigilant Dawn's armor reflected the glare like an enormous blade hanging in silence. Every deck hummed under emergency readiness. Bulkhead seals engaged. Reactor harmonics fluctuated under Cade's forced randomization algorithms. The Titan was alive again, but limping. Half her power reserves bled out from the first encounter, and the cooling system screamed under stress. On the command deck, Captain Ilian didn't blink. Her eyes were fixed on the enemy vessel. It pulsed with an inner storm, a contained singularity that looked less like a reactor and more like a wound in space. Her gut told her this wasn't an attack, not yet. It was demonstration. Reyes, she said quietly. Bring targeting arrays online. Passive mode only. Yes, ma'am. Reyes worked his console. Lines of telemetry crawled across the holoscreen. We've got shape data now. Hull geometry's fluid. It's not one solid construct, it's a lattice shifting between states. Armor or adaptation? Both. It's choosing structure on the fly. Then it's learning from us, she said. Dr. Chen's voice came over comms. Confirmed. The energy variance in its field correlates to our earlier reactor pulse. They're mirroring us at molecular scale. Every time we change power output, it reconfigures to compensate. That's impossible, muttered Reyes. No, Chen replied softly. That's evolution in real time. In engineering, Cade slammed a fist into the bulkhead as a status bar flickered red. We can't keep fluctuating like this, he barked. Our coils will liquefy. Then we melt with rhythm, said his deputy, a gaunt woman with dark grease streaks under her eyes. It's either that or let them freeze us again. Cade glared, then gave a grudging nod. Shift to stochastic pulse pattern C, no repeats. If that thing wants a dance partner, we'll make sure it trips. The lights dimmed, then surged again as power rerouted. The Titan's hull vibrated in micro-oscillations, subtle enough that external sensors couldn't form a steady lock. The ship was literally vibrating between frequencies, its own camouflage through chaos. Not elegant, Cade muttered. But it's survival. He'd learned that lesson decades ago, in the dust wars on Luna's southern craters, when elegant plans got you killed, and the ugly ones kept you breathing. The alien craft responded. Its aperture closed and the storm inside receded. The light dimmed until it was no more than a faint corona around a black heart. Silence returned. Space swallowed them both, vast and indifferent. Power reading stabilizing, Chen reported. It stopped the resonance attack. Varric leaned toward Ilian. Maybe it understood our message. Maybe it recognizes restraint, Ilian's jaw tightened. Or it's waiting for phase 2. Captain, Reyes said suddenly. New contact, multiple. Same vector as the primary. On the tactical display, faint ripples appeared. Then 6 smaller objects detached from the alien mothership, dispersing in formation, each one the size of a gunship, moving with uncanny synchronization. They didn't use propulsion. They folded through space in incremental blinks. Chen's pulse quickened. Those are drones, or parts of it. They're modular. Reyes' hand hovered over the command console. Do we intercept? Hold, Ilian said. Let's see what they do. The drones spread into a wide orbit around Vigilant Dawn, forming a perimeter 500 kilometers out. The pattern was unmistakable, containment. Reyes muttered, They're boxing us in. Ilian studied the display. Not weapons out yet. Ma'am, if they lock us, we won't get a second warning. Noted, but shooting first will turn history into a graveyard. Varric exhaled. We're already in one. Dr. Chen's analysis stations filled with ghosting data. The drones emitted faint magnetic whispers interlaced with gravitational ripples. Each seemed to be measuring a different variable: mass distribution, hull density, heat leakage. Together they were mapping Vigilant Dawn atom by atom. They're building a complete model of us, she said. Every system, every field fluctuation. Can we feed them false data? Ilian asked. Chen hesitated. Maybe. If we introduce randomized harmonic decoys, we can distort the profile. But if they're adaptive, it'll only fool them once. Once might be enough, Ilian said. Make them underestimate something we want hidden. Chen nodded. I'll bury a ghost. Something that looks like a redundant power line but isn't. In the code mesh, she created a phantom subgrid along the Titan's keel, radiating faint power signatures, an illusion of vulnerability. If the aliens analyzed it as a weak point, they'd aim for it first, and that was where Ilian planned to set her trap. Meanwhile, Varric tried again to reach Earth. The delay mocked him. Messages took nearly an hour to cross the Gulf, and the bureaucratic response time on top of that could take days. Humanity's seat of power might as well be another star away. Here, command decisions were absolute and immediate. He replayed old words in his mind, treaty clauses, diplomatic theories about first contact. All useless. There were no protocols for a species that could disable physics itself. He accessed his private terminal and opened a channel to the Titan's internal morale network. The crew was restless, their personal messages filled with questions. Were they at war? Would they survive? Did the aliens understand mercy? He recorded a message, voice steady. To all personnel aboard Vigilant Dawn, what we face today is the unknown that generations have feared and hoped for. Remember your training. Remember your oaths. Humanity's eyes are on us, even if they can't see us. Our strength is not in our weapons, but in our unity. We stand together, and together we endure. He ended transmission. His hands trembled slightly, but only when no one was watching. In the observation deck, Reyes met Chen for the first time outside the chaos of the bridge. The room was quiet, the glass wall revealing the alien vessel and its circling drones. They look beautiful, Chen said quietly. Reyes snorted. That's one word for it. They didn't destroy us when they could. That means something. It means they're curious. Curiosity doesn't mean friendly. She turned to him. Do you believe they think like us? No, he said flatly. But they act like predators, testing boundaries. She studied him. And you act like prey ready to bite, he almost smiled. You noticed. They stood in silence. The alien drones glided in perfect arcs, glowing faintly against Jupiter's pale light. What happens? Chen asked softly. If they're not hostile, if they're just doing what we do. Reyes glanced at her. Then we better be smarter or we'll still lose. Cade's engineers worked sleeplessly. The ship's power grid was now partially decoupled, running in analog loops immune to digital interference. Manual levers, pressure valves, physical redundancies. A warship built for the age of computation had become half mechanical again. He didn't mind. Machines he could trust, code not so much. As he recalibrated the primary reactor harmonics, his console flickered. Not from malfunction. Something external was pinging the diagnostic port. He frowned, isolating the signal. It wasn't the alien field. It was internal. Cade to command, he said sharply. We've got a breach. Someone's transmitting inside our local loop. Reyes responded instantly. Confirm source. Deck 7 near the forward relay core. Not one of ours. Security team, move, Reyes ordered. Contain Deck 7 immediately. Cade pulled up schematics. The relay core was isolated. No human could access it without authorization. The realization hit him hard. Captain, if that's not a person, then it's them, Ilian finished grimly. Security cams on Deck 7 showed a flicker of blue light, a ripple in air pressure. Then a metallic shimmer emerged from the bulkhead itself, a thin, tendril-like structure extruding through solid titanium. It branched, probing, almost alive. Cade stared. They're inside the hull. Seal that deck, Ilian commanded. Vent it if necessary. But the tendril moved faster than their commands. It reached a console interfacing with exposed circuitry. The lights flared, systems shuddered. In seconds, the alien presence hijacked the local grid. Power surge in Relay 7. Cade yelled. It's trying to talk to our mainframe. Cut it off. Ilian snapped. He slammed manual breakers, sparks flying. The connection severed. The alien material collapsing into liquid metal that evaporated in vacuum as the section vented. Silence followed. Containment achieved, Cade reported, breathing hard. Whatever that was, it wasn't mechanical. It was biotech. Chen's voice was hushed. They sent a fragment. Like a seed testing compatibility. Compatibility? Reyes said bitterly. They tried to hack us through our own damn blood. No, Chen said. They tried to connect. Ilian's tone was iron. If that's their idea of a handshake next time we shake back. The standoff stretched into its second day. The alien drones tightened their formation slightly. Imperceptibly to the untrained eye, but to a tactical officer like Reyes, it was clear. They were preparing for something. A field pulse, perhaps, or coordinated maneuver. Reyes leaned closer to the holo. Captain, they're adjusting relative distance. You see this spacing? It's convergent triangulation. They're building a network. Network for what? He didn't answer. Chen did. For entanglement. They're creating a quantum lattice around us. Once complete, they'll be able to manipulate local space, time lag, field interference. A prison. Estimate time to completion. 17 minutes. Ilian straightened. Reyes, time to stop being polite. His expression hardened. Weapons free? Minimal force. Disable, not destroy. Let's see how they handle pain. He grinned thinly. With pleasure, he keyed commands. On the Titan's underside, launch bays opened with hydraulic precision. 4 tactical drones detached. Sleek black wedges built for silent strike. Each carried railguns with tungsten penetrators designed for kinetic delivery. No EM signature, no energy field. Pure velocity. They moved in staggered vectors targeting separate alien drones. When they reached firing range, their rails flashed once. Needles of metal traveling at 20 kilometers per second. 2 hits connected. The alien drones flared white. One disintegrated, shattering into liquid shards that vanished into the void. The other recoiled but held formation. Then everything went still. Did they just let us hit them? Chen asked. Doubt it, Reyes said. They're analyzing damage. Seconds later, the remaining drones shimmered and split. Each one divided into 2, matter duplicating through energy inversion. 12 drones now encircled the Titan. Everyone recalibrated to the kinetic signature they'd just been struck with. Chen whispered. They cloned our attack vector. Meaning? Ilian asked. Meaning next time they'll use it. And they did. The drones turned their apertures outward. From each emerged projectiles, small, sharp, and burning blue. Identical to human rail slugs except faster. Brace for impact, Reyes shouted. The slugs slammed into the Titan's shields, rattling the hull. Warning sirens blared. Armor temperature spiked. Several impacts punched dents into the external plating, leaving glowing craters. Shields holding, Cade reported. Barely. Reyes's voice cut through static. Captain, they just used our own damn bullets. Then we teach them those bullets bite both ways, Ilian said coldly. Reconfigure drone formation for crossfire counterstrike. Full spread. The Titan's tactical drones looped back, curving between enemy fire lines using the alien network's geometry against itself. Reyes coordinated trajectories manually, eyes sharp. He wasn't just fighting, he was playing chess in vacuum. Now, he barked. The drones released a storm of shrapnel canisters. Microscopic tungsten beads accelerated magnetically. The field erupted into chaos. The alien lattice faltered, light fracturing. One by one the drones flickered out of sync. Got them, someone shouted. Then the main alien vessel moved for the first time. It unfolded like a flower of knives. A ripple passed through space and all 12 drones vanished, absorbed back into its structure. The energy readings spiked beyond measurable range. Chen whispered. They're compressing energy into a single axis. That's a beam. Reyes, Ilian said, calm but deadly. If it fires, we won't have time to dodge. Understood. Recommendations? He hesitated. We hit them first. Everything we've got. Ilian's eyes flicked toward the glowing alien core. No, we blind them first, she turned to Chen. Can we overload their sensory field? Chen nodded slowly. If we detonate an electromagnetic charge inside our own plasma wake, it'll create interference they can't compensate for, temporarily. Do it. Cade prepped the venting array. The Titan's engines flared to life, spewing ionized gas behind her. Chen timed it perfectly, triggering a contained EMP that rippled through the wake like thunder underwater. The result was immediate. The alien vessel's light stuttered, its core flickering erratically. They're blind, Chen said. For now. Then hit them, Ilian said. Reyes didn't hesitate. All batteries, full kinetic volley. The Titan's railguns roared, silent in the vacuum, but the vibration sang through the ship's bones. Dozens of tungsten rods streaked through space, trailing plasma. They hit the alien hull, tearing molten fractures across its surface. Impact confirmed, Reyes reported. Penetration shallow? Shallow's fine, Ilian said. We just told them humanity bleeds steel. The alien vessel pulsed once, then fell eerily still again. Chen stared at the readings. It's not retreating, it's absorbing the damage. How much time before it adapts again? Ilian asked. Minutes, maybe seconds. Reyes leaned on his console, sweat dripping down his temple. We bought ourselves a heartbeat. Ilian nodded. Then use it. All departments prep for sustained engagement. This was the first round. Varric spoke quietly, almost to himself, and the first misunderstanding. She glanced at him. Meaning? They offered parity, he said. We answered with war. Her gaze hardened. No, Commander. They froze our heart first. Outside, the alien ship began to glow again, its wounds sealing into patterns of new design. Sharper, faster, alive. Vigilant Dawn's crew watched as their enemy learned. Reyes said softly, Round 2's coming, aliens. Voice was iron. Then we make sure humanity survives. The stars trembled as two titans, the human-made and the alien-born, prepared to decide whose definition of strength would shape the next century. The alien ship's glow pulsed like a heartbeat through the void. Each flare rippled along its surface in fractal waves, bleeding light into the black. Vigilant Dawn floated scarred and silent, her railguns cooling, her hull cracked in a dozen places. Inside, the crew worked in grim, deliberate rhythm, repairing, reloading, rethinking. Captain Ilian stood alone in the command center, watching the after-action logs scroll across her holoscreen. Damage control reported partial hull compromise near the aft lattice. Reactor harmonics stable but strained. 93 wounded, 6 dead. Her eyes lingered on each name as if memorizing them. Every death was a point of gravity pulling her deeper into resolve. Reyes entered quietly. You haven't slept, he said. Neither have you, he didn't deny it. Engineering says we can't keep pushing the coils. One more resonance surge and we'll lose the aft drive. She turned to face him. Then we don't push. We adapt, he smirked faintly. You make it sound easy. Nothing about command is easy. It's just necessary. He hesitated before speaking again. They're moving. Her head snapped toward the display. The alien vessel had begun a slow drift, changing vector toward the outer asteroid belt. It wasn't retreating. Its course was deliberate, looping around Jupiter's orbit like a predator circling wounded prey. They're repositioning, Reyes said. Flanking trajectory. Or they're leading us somewhere, Ilian murmured. Helm match course. Distance 1 million clicks. Passive sensors only. The Titan moved again, gliding through the cold with engines whispering in electromagnetic silence. In the science bay, Dr. Chen stared at the alien damage readouts from their last volley. The kinetic strikes had penetrated only superficial layers before dissolving into the hull's amorphous mass. But the energy feedback had yielded valuable data. The material wasn't pure metal. It was a semi-organic lattice regenerating through nanostructural replication. It wasn't a ship. It was a living construct. She zoomed in on the molecular scans, isolating the feedback pattern that followed each impact. There, a momentary phase lag between regeneration cycles. Less than half a second, but measurable. The alien vessel's healing wasn't instantaneous. It followed rules. She tapped her comm. Captain, I found something. Talk to me, Ilian said. Their regeneration process has a refractory window. Half a second after absorbing energy or kinetic impact. During that window, the surface is momentarily inert. So if we time our strikes exactly, sequential volleys timed precisely within that gap. One to weaken, one to penetrate, Ilian's voice sharpened. Reyes, did you hear that? Loud and clear, he said. Looks like we've got our first vulnerability. Prep a firing algorithm, Ilian ordered. Coordinate with Chen for timing. Reyes grinned. About time we stopped just surviving. Cade's engineering teams worked like surgeons in chaos. The forward coolant loop had ruptured from overpressure during the last engagement. They'd sealed it with nanopolymer foam, but the residual heat from the coil cores still radiated through the decks. Every corridor smelled of ozone and metal fatigue. Cade wiped sweat from his brow, staring at the pulsing reactor core through its transparent shielding. The containment field shimmered in unstable hues. He muttered to his deputy, "Feels like it's breathing angry." "Maybe it is," she replied. "Good. Anger means it's alive." He keyed into the comm. "Captain, engineering's green on your next move. But this'll drain 50% of our reserves." "Understood," Ilian replied. "We'll make the shot count." Cade cracked a rare grin. "That's why we built her." He remembered when Vigilant Dawn was just blueprints and dreams. a floating fortress meant to unify humanity. They'd said she was invincible. Now she was bleeding, battered, and defiant. He couldn't be prouder. As the Titan shadowed the alien vessel through Jupiter's orbit, Varric studied the communication logs. Every burst of light from the alien ship seemed coded, but the patterns didn't match language, they matched strategy. Predictive algorithms disguised as signals. The aliens were transmitting to themselves across microspace, adjusting tactics with frightening speed. Varric considered what it meant. They weren't acting as conquerors or explorers. Their behavior mirrored something else entirely. Assessment. As if humanity was being catalogued, its defenses tested, its limits recorded. He sent a message to Ilian's console. If they're mapping us, every move we make teaches them. We can't win by reacting. We must make them mislearn. She responded instantly. Then we feed them the wrong lesson. He smiled grimly. At last she understood the diplomat's version of warfare. Deception. The next engagement began without warning. One of the alien ship's lateral sections unfolded, releasing a swarm of smaller constructs, thousands of shimmering particles no larger than pebbles moving as one. Chen's analysis screamed across the deck, nanofragment cloud. They're forming a distributed sensor mesh. Target with flak cannons, Ilian ordered. Rail-mounted turrets erupted across the Titan's hull, spraying tungsten bursts into the void. Explosions blossomed silently. The fragments scattered, but not before several touched the ship's outer plating. Cade's voice cut in. They're leaching heat signatures. Those things are smart dust, they're mapping us molecule by molecule. Reyes, flush the hull, Ilian snapped.
All vents now.
The Titan's outer vents opened, ejecting compressed cryogenic gas in every direction. A white halo enveloped the ship, freezing the smart dust into brittle crystal. The flak guns fired again, shattering them into harmless glitter. Reyes grinned. That's one for the home team. But the reprieve was short-lived. The alien vessel's core expanded again, the space around it warping with gravitational flex. A new energy signature appeared, something massive unfolding behind it. Chen's voice dropped. Captain. Another ship. Same configuration. The bridge fell silent. A second alien warship emerged from distortion, identical to the first. Then a third, smaller but faster, slipping into formation. Reyes cursed under his breath. How many of these things are there? Chen's voice trembled. I don't think they're ships. I think they're replications. Varric paled. They're cloning themselves, Ilian's jaw locked. Then we stop the source before the swarm begins. Captain, Reyes said, we've got no idea what that entails. We learn fast or die slow, she said. Prep offensive strike pattern Delta. The Titan's reactor screamed to life. Energy surged through the conduits, rattling the ship's frame. Reyes's targeting system locked onto the alien core. Chen synchronized impact windows to the millisecond. One volley timed to the regeneration lag, another to penetrate before closure. Firing sequence in 3, 2, 1. The first volley struck, fracturing the alien's outer shell. For an instant, the regeneration paused. The second volley hit dead center, plunging into the exposed lattice. A pulse of dark light erupted, followed by silence. Chen's hands flew across her console. Direct hit. The internal field's collapsing. Reyes whooped. We got them. But the victory died in the next heartbeat. The alien ship's light dimmed, then flared brighter, too bright. Chen's readings spiked off scale. Captain! It's not dying, it's splitting. On screen, the alien hull ruptured into dozens of fragments, each glowing with independent cores. The pieces began to drift, forming a sphere around Vigilant Dawn. They're fragmenting intentionally, Varric said. Self-replication protocol, Reyes swore. We just kicked the hive. The fragments aligned, energy building. The Titan's sensors lit up with radiation warnings. Chen shouted. They're generating a containment field like a fusion net. Cade, Ilian barked. Can we punch through? Not with current thrust, he said. They'll collapse the field and crush us like tin. Then we give them something they can't contain. Cade understood immediately. You're thinking core vent. Controlled overload. Focused outward. That'll fry our outer decks. I know. Can you do it? He hesitated, then nodded. Give me 10 seconds. In engineering, alarms screamed as Cade rerouted power from secondary reactors into the main plasma conduits. His team evacuated as he keyed in manual overrides, sweat dripping from his brow. Come on, you bastard, he muttered, twisting the final valve. The containment pressure built to catastrophic levels. The reactor howled like a living thing. Cade slammed the release. A torrent of superheated plasma erupted from the Titan's vent arrays, forming a cone of blinding blue fire. The alien fragments reacted instantly, their field collapsing as they struggled to contain the sudden energy surge. The plasma cone punched through, vaporizing several fragments outright and blowing open a hole in the encirclement. Vent successful, Cade shouted. Hull integrity at 70%. Helm, full burn through that gap, Alien commanded. The Titan's engines roared. The ship surged forward, cutting through debris and shattered alien shards. The blast hurled her clear of the containment field into open space again. Reyes slammed his fist into the console. We're clear. Chen let out a shaky breath. Their network's destabilizing. The remaining fragments are inert. Varric exhaled slowly. So that's what surviving looks like. Ilian didn't answer. Her gaze was fixed on the tactical map. The first alien vessel was gone, dissolved into energy, but the second and third had shifted formation, moving toward the Titan's wake. They're not retreating, she said softly. They're observing, Reyes frowned. Studying our countermeasures? Exactly. Every time we fight, we teach them. In the hours that followed, Vigilant Dawn limped into the shadow of Callisto, using the moon's magnetosphere to mask her thermal signature. Repairs began immediately. Hull teams and exosuits welded patches across torn plating. Medical units triaged the injured. The crew moved like ghosts, efficient, silent, haunted. Chen walked the dim corridors toward engineering, carrying data slates. She found Cade slumped against a coolant pipe, eyes bloodshot, his hands trembling from adrenaline withdrawal. You nearly blew us apart, she said. Yeah, he rasped. But I didn't, she handed him the slate. Your plasma vent left residue, trace particles that bonded with the alien fragments before they disintegrated. We might be able to analyze them. He looked at her with weary curiosity. You think we can learn from them? I think it's the only way we stop improvising. He smiled faintly. Then let's start dissecting gods. In the command center, Ilian and Varric reviewed Chen's findings. The alien material was unlike anything known, quantum-tuned to mimic physical laws as needed. But embedded within the residue was something unexpected, a repeating pattern, non-random, almost linguistic. It's a code, Chen explained. A command structure. But it's recursive, it references itself. Varric leaned forward. Meaning? Meaning it's not just language. It's identity. Each fragment carried the entire blueprint of the whole. They're not individuals, they're one mind distributed across vessels. Reyes grimaced. So we're fighting a hive intelligence. Not a hive, Chen corrected. A single consciousness. The ships are its limbs. Ilian's voice was calm but hard. Then if we want to win, we cut the brain. Varric hesitated. If there even is one. Oh, there is, Ilian said. Everything alive has a heart. You just have to make it show you where. She turned toward the tactical display. The alien ships had resumed their slow orbit beyond Callisto's shadow, forming a loose sphere around the moon. Watching. Waiting. They know we're wounded, Reyes said. Good, Ilian replied. Let them think we're dying, Varric frowned. You're planning something. Yes, she said. We're going to make them chase a ghost. Over the next 16 hours, Vigilant Dawn went dark. Every light extinguished, every system run on minimal draw. In the moon's shadow, she became invisible. Meanwhile, Chen and Cade worked to project a decoy, an EM echo simulating the Titan's power signature. Using Callisto's magnetosphere, they bounced the false signal into open space, mimicking a crippled reactor venting energy. The aliens took the bait. Both vessels shifted course toward the decoy, accelerating. They're moving in, Reyes said quietly. Wait for it, Ilian whispered. As the alien ships converged on the false signal, the Titan crept from the shadow on the opposite vector, silent as death. Her railguns were primed, her kinetic torpedoes loaded with high-density tungsten laced with Chen's new timing sequence. Reyes aligned the sights. Targets locked. Fire, Ilian said. The volley crossed space in seconds. Dozens of tungsten rods struck the nearest alien vessel at precisely timed intervals, each one landing during the half-second regeneration lag. The hull fractured, this time deeply. The alien light flared and died. One down, Reyes said. Second ship retaliating. The remaining alien vessel fired a gravitational pulse. Space warped. The Titan shuddered, thrown sideways by invisible hands. Consoles sparked. Cade yelled over comms, "We're losing attitude control." Ilian gripped the railing. "Stabilize!" Reyes fought the helm, sweat flying. Compensating, barely. The alien ship charged another pulse, this one stronger. Chen shouted, "They're folding local gravity wells. If they hit us dead on, they'll crush us." "Then hit them first," Ilian barked. Reyes rerouted auxiliary power to the spinal railgun, the largest weapon on the ship. It charged in a low hum that built to a scream. "Range locked," he said. "One shot. Make it count." He fired. The projectile, a 6-ton tungsten spear wrapped in plasma, crossed space faster than thought. It pierced the alien core dead center. The resulting implosion sucked light inward before exploding outward in a sphere of black fire. Chen shielded her eyes. Impact confirmed. The field collapsed. Silence followed. No signals. No movement. Just debris glimmering faintly against Jupiter's storms. Reyes exhaled shakily. "That's both of them down." Varric didn't speak. He stared at the empty space where the alien vessels had been, then at the faint radiation traces left behind. Still coherent. Still humming. "They're not dead," he said softly. "They're transmitting." Chen looked up sharply. "Transmitting to what?" The answer came seconds later. Deep space sensors detecting a surge from beyond Saturn's orbit. "A gravitational spike like a heartbeat across the solar system," Reyes whispered. They called for reinforcements. And for the first time since the encounter began, Captain Ilian closed her eyes, knowing humanity's trial had only just begun. Jupiter's shadow receded behind them as vigilant dawn accelerated towards Saturn's orbit. The void ahead shimmered with distant distortions, ripples of gravity betraying something immense approaching. The alien transmission had echoed through every frequency known and unknown, its resonance still vibrating faintly through the Titan's hull, like a ghost whispering from the fabric of space itself. Captain Ilian stood at the central viewport. Beyond it, Saturn's pale rings glowed in silent majesty. Somewhere out there, beyond the ice and the dust, lay the origin of that signal, humanity's next test. Her face was expressionless, but her pulse beat with the rhythm of command, measured, relentless. Reyes checked his displays. "Interference across all bands. We're being scanned again." "Same signature?" Ilian asked. "Negative, stronger, broader spectrum. It's like they're peeling us layer by layer." Cade's gravelly voice cut in from engineering. "I'm reading resonance buildup in the field coils. External, not ours. They're using subspace compression to trap our comms." "They're cutting us off," Reyes said. "No signal to Earth, no backup." "Then we do what humans always do when we're alone," Ilian said. "We fight smarter." Varric's reflection appeared in the glass beside her. "They're not attacking yet. If this is a second wave, they might be observing again." Testing escalation thresholds, Ilian turned to him. "Then let's show them escalation has limits." Dr. Chen hunched over a spectral display on the science deck. The alien signal was different this time, denser, multi-dimensional. Instead of a single broadcast pattern, it carried overlapping data streams. She separated them one layer at a time, uncovering embedded harmonics that formed something uncanny. "It's not just communication," she murmured. "It's memory." She ran simulations, visualizing the signal as a three-dimensional structure, a fractal cube that expanded inward infinitely. Each layer corresponded to a snapshot of their previous battles, power curves, weapon frequencies, even the way the Titan's captain spoke. It wasn't just observing them, it was recording personality. Her stomach turned cold. "They're building a cognitive map of us." She sent the data to command. "Captain, if they learn our decision patterns, we're done. They'll predict every move before we make it." Ilian's voice came back calm and steady. "Then we change the pattern. Let's become something they can't model." Chen hesitated. "You mean?" "Act irrationally?" "I mean act human." Cade's engineers had the ship torn open again, patching wounds that refused to stay closed. Reactor coils hummed like a beast beneath sedation. He knelt beside a coolant line, inspecting the charred scar from the last vent burst. The hull metal still glowed faintly, an angry red that refused to cool. "Pressure nominal," his deputy said, "but containment field fluctuations persist." Cade nodded. "Good, let it fluctuate," she frowned. "You want instability?" He grinned. "Instability's the one thing they can't copy." He keyed in a manual control sequence, deliberately desynchronizing several systems by microseconds. The ship groaned under the uneven rhythm. It was ugly engineering, but beautiful defiance. Predictable systems could be mirrored. Chaotic ones couldn't. "Captain," he said over comms. "You wanted human. You've got a ship with a heartbeat now. Unstable as hell, but unpredictable." "Perfect," Ilian said. "Keep it that way." A torrent of superheated plasma erupted from the Titan's vent arrays, forming a cone of blinding blue fire. The alien fragments reacted instantly, their field collapsing as they struggled to contain the sudden energy surge. The plasma cone punched through, vaporizing several fragments outright and blowing open a hole in the encirclement. "Vent successful," Cade shouted. "Hull integrity at 70%. Helm full burn through that gap," Ilian commanded. The Titan's engines roared. The ship surged forward, cutting through debris and shattered alien shards. The blast hurled her clear of the containment field into open space again. Reyes slammed his fist into the console. "We're clear." Chen let out a shaky breath. "Their network's destabilizing. The remaining fragments are inert," Varric exhaled slowly. "So that's what surviving looks like." Ilian didn't answer. Her gaze was fixed on the tactical map. The first alien vessel was gone, dissolved into energy, but the second and third had shifted formation, moving toward the Titan's wake. "They're not retreating," she said softly. "They're observing." Reyes frowned. "Studying our countermeasures?" "Exactly. Every time we fight, we teach them." In the hours that followed, vigilant Dawn limped into the shadow of Callisto, using the moon's magnetosphere to mask her thermal signature. Repairs began immediately. Hull teams in exosuits welded patches across torn plating. Medical units triaged the injured. The crew moved like ghosts, efficient, silent, haunted. Chen walked the dim corridors toward engineering, carrying data slates. She found Cade slumped against a coolant pipe, eyes bloodshot, his hands trembling from adrenaline withdrawal. "You nearly blew us apart," she said. "Yeah," he rasped. "But I didn't." She handed him the slate. "Your plasma vent left residue, trace particles that bonded with the alien fragments before they disintegrated. We might be able to analyze them." He looked at her with weary curiosity. "You think we can learn from them?" "I think it's the only way we stop improvising." He smiled faintly. "Then let's start dissecting gods." In the command center, Ilian and Varric reviewed Chen's findings. The alien material was unlike anything known, quantum-tuned to mimic physical laws as needed. But embedded within the residue was something unexpected. A repeating pattern, non-random, almost linguistic. "It's a code," Chen explained. "A command structure. But it's recursive, it references itself." Varric leaned forward. "Meaning?" "Meaning it's not just language. It's identity. Each fragment carried the entire blueprint of the whole. They're not individuals. They're one mind distributed across vessels." Reyes grimaced. "So we're fighting a hive intelligence." "Not a hive," Chen corrected. "A single consciousness. The ships are its limbs." Ilian's voice was calm but hard. "Then if we want to win, we cut the brain." Varric hesitated. "If there even is one." "Oh, there is," Ilian said. "Everything alive has a heart. You just have to make it show you where." She turned toward the tactical display. The alien ships had resumed their slow orbit beyond Callisto's shadow, forming a loose sphere around the moon. Watching, waiting. "They know we're wounded," Reyes said. "Good," Ilian replied. "Let them think we're dying." Varric frowned. "You're planning something." "Yes," she said. "We're going to make them chase a ghost." Over the next 16 hours, Vigilant Dawn went dark. Every light extinguished, every system run on minimal draw. In the moon's shadow, she became invisible. Meanwhile, Chen and Cade worked to project a decoy, an EM echo simulating the Titan's power signature. Using Callisto's magnetosphere, they bounced the false signal into open space, mimicking a crippled reactor venting energy. The aliens took the bait. Both vessels shifted course toward the decoy. "Accelerating. They're moving in," Reyes said quietly. "Wait for it," Ilian whispered. As the alien ships converged on the false signal, the Titan crept from the shadow on the opposite vector, silent as death. Her railguns were primed, her kinetic torpedoes loaded with high-density tungsten laced with Chen's new timing sequence. Reyes aligned the sights. "Targets locked. Fire," Ilian said. The volley crossed space in seconds. Dozens of tungsten rods struck the nearest alien vessel at precisely timed intervals, each one landing during the half-second regeneration lag. The hull fractured, this time deeply. The alien light flared and died. "One down," Reyes said. "Second ship retaliating." The remaining alien vessel fired a gravitational pulse. Space warped. The Titan shuddered, thrown sideways by invisible hands. Consoles sparked. Cade yelled over comms, "We're losing attitude control." Alien gripped the railing. "Stabilize!" Reyes fought the helm, sweat flying. Compensating, barely. The alien ship charged another pulse, this one stronger. Chen shouted, "They're folding local gravity wells. If they hit us dead on, they'll crush us." "Then hit them first." Alien barked. Reyes rerouted auxiliary power to the spinal railgun, the largest weapon on the ship. It charged in a low hum that built to a scream. "Range locked," he said. "One shot. Make it count." He fired. The projectile, a 6-ton tungsten spear wrapped in plasma, crossed space faster than thought. It pierced the alien core dead center. The resulting implosion sucked light inward before exploding outward in a sphere of black fire. Chen shielded her eyes. Impact confirmed. The field collapsed. Silence followed. No signals. No movement. Just debris glimmering faintly against Jupiter's storms. Reyes exhaled shakily. "That's both of them down." Varric didn't speak. He stared at the empty space where the alien vessels had been, then at the faint radiation traces left behind. Still coherent. Still humming. "They're not dead," he said softly. "They're transmitting." Chen looked up sharply. Transmitting to what? The answer came seconds later. Deep space sensors detecting a surge from beyond Saturn's orbit. "A gravitational spike like a heartbeat across the solar system," Reyes whispered. They called for reinforcements. And for the first time since the encounter began, Captain Ilian closed her eyes, knowing humanity's trial had only just begun. Jupiter's shadow receded behind them as vigilant dawn accelerated toward Saturn's orbit. The void ahead shimmered with distant distortions, ripples of gravity betraying something immense approaching. The alien transmission had echoed through every frequency known and unknown, its resonance still vibrating faintly through the Titan's hull, like a ghost whispering from the fabric of space itself. Captain Ilian stood at the central viewport. Beyond it, Saturn's pale rings glowed in silent majesty. Somewhere out there, beyond the ice and the dust, lay the origin of that signal. Humanity's next test. Her face was expressionless, but her pulse beat with the rhythm of command, measured, relentless. Reyes checked his displays. Interference across all bands. "We're being scanned again." "Same signature?" Ilian asked. "Negative. Stronger, broader spectrum. It's like they're peeling us layer by layer." Cade's gravelly voice cut in from engineering. "I'm reading resonance buildup in the field coils. External, not ours. They're using subspace compression to trap our comms." "They're cutting us off," Reyes said. "No signal to Earth, no backup." "Then we do what humans always do when we're alone," Ilian said. "We fight smarter." Varric's reflection appeared in the glass beside her. "They're not attacking yet. If this is a second wave, they might be observing again, testing escalation thresholds." Ilian turned to him. "Then let's show them escalation has limits." Dr. Chen hunched over a spectral display on the science deck. The alien signal was different this time, denser, multi-dimensional. Instead of a single broadcast pattern, it carried overlapping data streams. She separated them one layer at a time, uncovering embedded harmonics that formed something uncanny. "It's not just communication," she murmured. "It's memory." She ran simulations, visualizing the signal as a three-dimensional structure, a fractal cube that expanded inward infinitely. Each layer corresponded to a snapshot of their previous battles. Power curves, weapon frequencies, even the way the Titan's captain spoke. It wasn't just observing them, it was recording personality. Her stomach turned cold. "They're building a cognitive map of us." She sent the data to command. "Captain, if they learn our decision patterns, we're done. They'll predict every move before we make it." Ilian's voice came back calm and steady. "Then we change the pattern. Let's become something they can't model." Chen hesitated. "You mean, act irrationally?" "I mean act human." Cade's engineers had the ship torn open again, patching wounds that refused to stay closed. Reactor coils hummed like a beast beneath sedation. He knelt beside a coolant line, inspecting the charred scar from the last vent burst. The hull metal still glowed faintly, an angry red that refused to cool. "Pressure nominal," his deputy said, "but containment field fluctuations persist." Cade nodded. "Good, let it fluctuate," she frowned. "You want instability?" He grinned. "Instability's the one thing they can't copy." He keyed in a manual control sequence, deliberately desynchronizing several systems by microseconds. The ship groaned under the uneven rhythm. It was ugly engineering, but beautiful defiance. Predictable systems could be mirrored. Chaotic ones couldn't. "Captain," he said over comms. "You wanted human? You've got a ship with a heartbeat now. Unstable as hell, but unpredictable." "Perfect," Ilian said. "Keep it that way." Reyes monitored the approach vectors. The alien contacts emerged gradually from distortion. A fleet this time. 5 massive constructs, each distinct yet sharing the same biomorphic architecture. Their surfaces shimmered with adaptive geometries, shifting colors like oil over water. "They're not exact copies," he said. "Each one's evolved." Chen's analysis confirmed it. "They've diversified. They're experimenting with designs like an ecosystem learning variation." Varric exhaled. "So we're the selective pressure." "Then let's be extinction," Ilian said. She ordered the Titan into combat formation. "All weapons hot, but hold fire until I say. Let them make the first mistake." The alien fleet spread out, forming a crescent formation around Vigilant Dawn. Their motion was deliberate, synchronized, and silent. Then from the largest of them, a beam of pure gravitational distortion lanced outward, cutting across the void like a blade of invisible force. "Brace," Reyes shouted. The beam struck the Titan's forward shields, bending light itself. Metal screamed as inertial dampeners fought to hold structural integrity. Crew members were thrown against harnesses. Sparks cascaded from the ceiling. Cade's voice roared through comms. "Shields at 80% and dropping. Reinforce front lattice." Ilian barked. Reyes gritted his teeth, fingers flying. "Redirecting power from aft batteries." The Titan groaned as energy surged forward, reinforcing the barrier. The beam fractured, dispersing across the hull in glittering fragments. When it ended, the ship drifted in silence, scorched but alive. "They wanted to see if we'd break," Reyes said. "And now they've seen we won't," Ilian replied. "Return the favor." The Titan fired in a single disciplined sequence. Railguns, plasma torpedoes, kinetic drones, every weapon coordinated in perfect timing. Chen's predictive model synchronized impacts across all 5 alien vessels, striking during their regeneration intervals. Space flared with detonations. One alien ship ruptured, splitting into twin fragments that drifted apart, leaking molten light. The others closed ranks, absorbing the loss. But they didn't retaliate immediately. Instead, they adjusted formation again, this time triangulating around the destroyed one's remains. Chen frowned. "They're using its debris, integrating it." On the display, the wreckage reassembled itself, tendrils weaving between shards until it reformed into a new configuration, larger, stronger, fused with the others. The aliens weren't losing numbers. They were consolidating mass. Reyes swore. "Every time we hit them, they evolve mid-battle." Varric spoke softly. "Then the only way to stop evolution is to remove the template." "Meaning?" Ilian asked. He looked at her gravely. "Destroy the source code, the signal itself." "The one calling them." Chen's eyes widened. "That would mean tracking it to origin. Deep space beyond Saturn." Ilian's voice was flint. "Then that's our next target," Reyes turned. "We can't fight 5 of these things and chase their source." "Who said anything about fighting?" she said. "We're going hunting." The operation that followed was born of desperation and genius. While the aliens maintained formation, Vigilant Dawn feigned critical damage. Reactor emissions flared, life support signals fluctuated, an illusion of collapse. The aliens responded predictably, closing in to observe. Hidden beneath the surface of Titan's rings, the ship launched a cluster of decoy drones, each one projecting identical EM profiles. The alien sensors registered dozens of wrecks, spreading confusion through their adaptive network. Reyes grinned. "They can mimic us all they want. Let's see them mimic chaos." As the alien fleet dissected the decoys, Vigilant Dawn dropped into the shadow of an ice moon and ignited her stealth drive, a gravity skimming system that rode the curvature of local spacetime. Cade's unstable harmonics made the ship's signature unreadable, a flicker in the static. Chen's scanners tracked the alien fleet from a distance. One by one, their vessels oriented toward the same point, beyond Saturn's farthest moon. The source signal was there, hidden inside a distortion node. "That's our destination," she said. "If we destroy that node, we cut their neural link." "Then plot a course," Ilian said. Varric stepped closer. "Captain, if we disrupt their signal, we might be severing something alive. We don't know what it will do." "Neither do they," she replied. "That's our advantage." They reached the node 6 hours later. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't even a structure. It was a phenomenon, A sphere of frozen space, light bending inward, surrounded by debris orbiting in slow, hypnotic arcs. Inside, the gravitational field pulsed like a heartbeat. The alien fleet had been born from this womb. Chen stared at it through the viewport. It's beautiful. Or lethal, Reyes said. Both, she whispered. Ilian gave the order. Prep a singularity torpedo. The weapon was their last resort, a contained micro-black hole sustained for mere seconds before collapse. Firing it risked tearing their own hull apart, but it could disrupt any structure bound by space-time distortion. Cade's voice came through tight with strain. We've got one shot. After this, the reactor's toast. Then it's a good thing I don't plan on missing, Ilian said. Reyes took the firing station himself. Locked on target. Wait, Chen said suddenly. I'm detecting movement inside the field. The distortion shimmered and a new shape emerged. Massive, angular, and alien beyond imagination. But this one was different. It wasn't forming. It was descending. The being, because that was the only word for it, was neither ship nor creature but something between. Its presence warped gravity in rhythmic pulses. It was the intelligence behind everything. The core, Reyes whispered. The brain. The entity turned toward them, or seemed to. A light formed within it, pulsing in the same pattern as the very first alien signal they'd encountered near Jupiter. Identification. Parody. Barrick's voice was hushed. It's offering communication again. They always talk before they strike, Reyes muttered. No, Chen said. This feels different. The frequency's lower, almost hesitant. Ilian's eyes narrowed. Translate. Chen worked rapidly, converting light pulses to mathematical sequences, then to linguistic approximations. The translation appeared on screen as fragmented text. We test you. Endure purpose? Silence held the bridge. The alien wasn't taunting. It was asking. Barrick leaned forward. They're searching for reason, why we fight. Tell them, Ilian said. Show them we're not machines. Varric composed a response through binary light modulation. We defend existence, survival, freedom. The alien pulsed back slower this time. Freedom. Dangerous. Life. Conflict. We guide. Reyes scowled. Guide? They mean control. Varric answered anyway. Guidance without consent is conquest. The alien paused. Its light dimmed, then flared again. Test incomplete. Then the gravitational field surged. Cade shouted over comms. They're collapsing the node. The sphere imploded inward, dragging matter toward it. The alien core remained stationary, absorbing the chaos. It wasn't dying, it was consuming the field itself. Captain, Chen cried. If it completes this process, it'll rewrite the entire region's space-time curvature. Nothing human will survive here. Reyes, Ilian said, fire the torpedo. He hesitated. What about the dialogue? Maybe, fire. He hit the trigger. The singularity torpedo streaked toward the node, trailing a luminous contrail. It pierced the field and detonated in absolute silence. Space folded inward, collapsing light and time into a single point. The alien core convulsed, its luminous tendrils fracturing. The gravitational pull vanished. Cade's system screamed. Reactor overload. Field backlash heading our way. Brace for impact, Ilian shouted. The wave struck like thunder through the void. The Titan spun, her hull bending, alarms shrieking. Power flickered. Deck plates tore loose. Then suddenly, stillness. When the lights returned, the distortion was gone. The alien core had vanished. Only fragments of frozen debris drifted silently. Status, Ilian rasped. Reyes coughed. Shields holding. Reactor offline but stable. Chen stared at her readings. The signal's gone. The fleet, disconnected. Varric asked softly. Are they dead? Not dead, she said. Dormant. The hive's mind is gone. They're empty. Ilian sank back against the command rail. Then we just bought humanity time. Hours later, repairs continued in quiet exhaustion. The crew moved through half-lit corridors like survivors of a storm. Chen reviewed her data in solitude. The alien signal had stopped, but traces remained, echoes lingering in subspace. And within those echoes, a pattern she didn't understand. It wasn't hostile, it was searching. Varric found her staring at it. Still trying to talk to ghosts? They left a question, she said. Not a threat. A question. He looked at the pulsing rhythm on her display. What does it say? She hesitated. It says, where do you go next? He exhaled, almost smiling. That's the question, isn't it? On the bridge, Elian watched Saturn's rings fade into the dark as vigilant dawn set course for home. The stars glimmered like silent witnesses. Behind her, Reyes approached, limping from a cracked rib. "Orders, Captain?" "Return to Mars orbit. Transmit all data to command." He nodded, then paused. "You think they'll come back?" She looked out at the void. "If they're anything like us, yes. But next time they won't find the same species waiting." Reyes smiled grimly. "Because we'll be ready?" "No," she said. "Because we'll be different." The Titan moved onward, engines glowing faintly against the dark. Humanity's defiance embodied in steel and flame. Far behind them, in the emptiness near Saturn, the fragments of the alien consciousness drifted, faintly pulsing like embers refusing to die. And somewhere, deep beyond the reach of sensors, something pulsed in answer. The return journey took them through silence thicker than vacuum. Vigilant Dawn drifted under minimal power, her hull scarred, her engines pulsing faintly against the darkness. What had begun as humanity's greatest deterrent had become its sole witness to something far older, far stranger, and far beyond comprehension. Every corridor carried the hum of repairs. Every crew member walked as if gravity had grown heavier. Captain Mara Ilian stood in the shattered observation bay, glass replaced with temporary polymer seals. Saturn's pale light flickered across her face as she reviewed the last transmissions from Chen. Fragments of alien code still haunted the ship's systems, locked in isolated data cores. They pulsed faintly, like heartbeat remnants of a god that refused to die. Reyes approached, his uniform singed, his ribs bound. "Navigation reports clear path to Mars orbit," he said. "No new contacts. The wreckage fields are dissipating." "Good," she said quietly. "How's the crew?" "Exhausted, but alive. Morale steady, all things considered. They believe we ended it." She looked out at the drifting fragments far behind them. "It's never ended." Just paused, he followed her gaze. "You really think they'll come back?" She didn't answer immediately. "I think whatever they are, they don't stop at defeat. They learn. They'll return when they understand what we are." Reyes frowned. "And what are we?" "Still figuring that out," she said. In the science deck, Dr. Lyra Chen had sealed herself in isolation. The alien fragments recovered from the Saturn engagement floated within a containment field. Tiny shards of black glass wrapped in magnetic suspension. Each one emitted a faint pulse, an echo of something alive. She'd been studying their internal lattice for days, tracking energy decay patterns. The data was maddening. Every observation changed the sample's behavior. The fragments seemed to react to being studied, as if curiosity itself was part of the test. She'd begun to suspect that the aliens' true weapon wasn't technology or biology, it was cognition. They learned through us like a mirror adjusting to what it saw. Her console beeped softly. One fragment had stabilized. Its pulse slowed, synchronized with her heartbeat. She froze. The waveform on her monitor formed a simple rhythm, 2 short, 1 long. Then again, "Morse code," she whispered. "No. That's impossible," the message repeated. She decoded it, heart racing. Observed together, she leaned closer. "You're still alive," she murmured. "You're still here." The fragment pulsed once, acknowledgement. In engineering, Cade stood before the humming reactor core, its heat still radiating through reinforced plating. He'd refused to shut it down completely. The Titan's heart, though wounded, still burned bright. Around him, his crew moved with quiet discipline, patching conduits, recalibrating coils, testing the impossible repairs that had become routine. His deputy approached, handing him a report. "Structural integrity up to 75%. We can hold atmospheric re-entry now." Cade nodded absently. "Good. But I want the field coils kept unsynchronized," she frowned. "Still running in stability mode?" "We're safe now." He looked up, eyes sharp despite exhaustion. "Safe is predictable. I don't want us predictable ever again." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "You've changed." He smiled faintly. "Good. So has the universe." Commander Varric stood before a flickering comms display, trying to re-establish a high-bandwidth connection to Earth. The lag remained brutal, minutes between signals, but at last, static gave way to a voice, distant and strained. "Vigilant Dawn, this is Earth Command." Transmission received. "Confirm status," Varric exhaled, his first true breath in days. "Command, this is Varric. Captain Ilian reports mission complete. 2 alien vessels neutralized. Source entity destroyed. Titan operational, casualties minimal. The response came after a long delay. Understood, Vigilant Dawn. Data retrieval priority authorized. Proceed to Mars orbit for debrief. Congratulations, Captain. Humanity owes you everything. Varric ended the channel and stared at the console for a long time. The words felt hollow. Congratulations. There was no victory here, only survival. He glanced at the mission log's final line, the timestamp of Chen's last discovery, the fragment's message. Observe together. He wasn't sure whether that was a warning or an invitation. He left the comms deck and walked the corridors, passing crew members who saluted him half-heartedly. Everyone carried the same haunted look. They'd seen something that had broken their understanding of existence, then walked away alive. That kind of survival came with weight. As the Titan approached Mars orbit, the red planet grew in the viewport, dusty, scarred, alive with scattered colonies. Humanity's outpost civilization. News of their arrival had spread faster than light via relay transmissions. Every broadcast channel was alive with speculation. First contact, first war, first victory. Elian knew the truth wasn't so clean. When they docked at the Martian orbital platform, the reception was subdued but ceremonial. Delegates from every major faction waited, flanked by soldiers in polished armor. Cameras hovered silently. Ilian walked down the ramp, her uniform scorched and unpressed, refusing the pretense of triumph. Varric followed, flanked by Chen and Reyes. Cade had stayed aboard. The Titan's soul didn't leave the ship. A diplomat stepped forward, all rehearsed warmth. Captain Ilian, on behalf of the United Planetary Council, welcome home. Humanity stands united in gratitude for your courage. She met his gaze without expression, then stay united for what comes next. The man faltered slightly. We understand the gravity of your report. No, she said. You don't. Varric stepped forward, handing over sealed data cores. Everything we know is here. But Captain Ilian is right. The enemy we fought wasn't an invader. It was an examiner. The delegate frowned. Examiner? Testing us, Ilian said. Measuring capacity, resilience, morality. They wanted to know how we respond to the unknown. And now they do. A silence followed, the kind that no amount of ceremony could fill. Back aboard the Titan, Chen returned to her lab. She had been ordered to hand over the alien fragments to planetary science divisions, but she couldn't. Something about the pulse in the shard's rhythm made her feel it wasn't finished. She approached the containment field. The fragment floated motionless. She whispered, "You wanted to observe together, so observe." She deactivated one containment layer, leaving the fragment exposed to open electromagnetic fields. It didn't lash out. Instead, its glow softened. The lab lights dimmed as if in reverence. A cascade of faint images appeared, echoes projected onto the walls, battles, lights, fragments of alien structures. And faces. Human faces. Chen's heart stopped. They weren't clear, but the silhouettes were unmistakable. Crew members of Vigilant Dawn. Recorded somehow, embedded in the alien memory. The entity had captured not just their actions but their selves. The final image froze on her own reflection, then shifted into the captain's face. And in that voice, faint, synthetic yet recognizable, came a single phrase through the speakers. You endure. We learn. Then silence. Chen sank into her chair, trembling. The fragment's pulse faded entirely, like a heartbeat slipping into sleep. It had said farewell, or promised return. Reyes found Ilian later, standing on the outer observation deck of the Mars orbital platform. Below them, the planet's rust-colored surface glowed faintly under sunlight. Transport ships crisscrossed the horizon. Life continued, unaware of how close it had come to ending. You should be planet-side, he said. They're waiting for your speech. She shook her head. I didn't fight this war to make speeches. Then what did we fight for? She thought for a long moment. So the next one who fights won't have to ask that. He leaned on the railing beside her. You think there'll be a next one? There's always a next one, she said. But maybe next time we'll go to them first. He smiled faintly. You sound like Chen. I sound like someone who's seen what waits beyond maps. A long silence passed between them. Then he said quietly, You know, they'll rebuild the Titan stronger, smarter. Turn her into a fleet. Good, she said. But they'll never build another like her. Reyes nodded. Because she survived? No, Ilian said softly. Because she learned. Weeks passed. The Titan remained in orbit. Her crew slowly reassigned, her systems dismantled for analysis. Chen's lab was sealed, her samples taken by the Defense Science Directorate. But deep within the ship's forgotten decks, in a compartment sealed off from official schematics, something still lived. Cade had kept one final piece of the alien hull, fused into the Titan's reactor shielding during the battle at Saturn. It pulsed faintly with residual light. Every time he passed it, the reactor's hum seemed to harmonize, as if the ship and the shard shared a secret language. He called it the Ghost. He never reported it. Late one shift, alone in engineering, he watched the pulse slow, stabilize, and then, impossibly sync with the ship's core frequency. The reactor readings leveled. Efficiency increased by 3%. Every gauge smoothed, he whispered. "You're helping us, aren't you?" The shard pulsed once, affirmation. Cade smiled, exhausted. "Guess that makes us partners now." Months later, a fleet assembled in orbit around Mars. 5 new warships inspired by the Titan's design. Smaller, more agile, but built with lessons carved from the fires of first contact. Humanity's Titan doctrine was born: adaptability, unity, precision, restraint. Not conquest. Survival through understanding. Captain Ilian stood on the command bridge of the newly christened Resolute Dawn, watching the others take shape. The air buzzed with the energy of renewal. Varric had joined the Interplanetary Council to write new contact protocols. Reyes commanded the fleet's tactical wing. Chen headed a new research division dedicated to xenointelligence. When her comms chimed, it was Chen's voice. "You might want to see this." The holodisplay lit up with a deep space transmission. Weak, ancient, but unmistakable. A repeating signal emanating from beyond Neptune's orbit. The same frequency pattern that had started it all. But this time the message was different. Chen decoded it in silence, then looked up. "It says we return not to test, but to build." Ilian didn't move for a long time. Then she said, "Transmit reply." "What should I say?" Chen asked. "Say we're ready." The stars filled the viewport again. For a moment they looked less like distant suns and more like beacons, each one a possibility waiting to be met. The void that had once been humanity's frontier now felt like the beginning of conversation. Vigilant Dawn had shown them fear, cost, and resilience, but more importantly it had shown them reflection. Because when humanity's Titan faced the unknown, it didn't shatter. It adapted. It endured. It learned to look into the abyss and see not an enemy, but a mirror, and somewhere deep beyond Neptune, an alien mind stirred awake, no longer a judge, but a peer. Its first lesson written in the pulse of a warship that refused to die. Humanity's Titan had not been frozen by fear. It had been tempered by it, and the stars waited for what would come next.